Good afternoon, my name is Thompson with Cisco Systems. I'm a Space Initiatives Manager with a focus on IRIS and DoD and the intelligence community. The JCTD for IRIS was very unique in the fact that it was the first industry-funded JCTD. It was a co-development with Cisco Systems and the Space and Missile Defense Command, where Cisco funded the development of the IRIS payload, a capabilities-based approach, and SMDC was the executive evaluator of the technology. So they were able to monitor the development of IRIS from start to finish, and once the satellite was on orbit, they were able to test the operational benefits or the mission utility to the warfighter. And what they found out is that with IRIS, they were able to dynamically to create closed user groups or dynamic VPNs that allowed them to separate traffic between U.S. forces and coalition forces dynamically, where they hadn't been able to do that in the past. They were able to do cross-beam and cross-domain routing from C to KU or KU to KU in one footprint. So basically, from one satellite over the Atlantic Ocean, they were able to see the continental United States, Europe, Africa, and the Caribbean and South America all at the same time, for the first time in a real-world situation. Hosted payloads, while they've been around for a long time, the military did some of the first hosted payloads many years ago, where IRIS was the first geosynchronous router as a hosted payload. And we had a very tight timeline, 22 months from start to finish. And a lot of times military systems, they take decades to develop. So if the hosted payload is going to be on a commercial satellite, they have a definite timeline from start to finish for launch. So that's the first issue. The next question is who pays for it? Does the government pay for the hosted payload up front, or do they lease services from the satellite operator or the person that procured the hosted payload? And I think the last thing is a hosted payload allows you to take commercial or current technology and put it to space very quickly to provide that 80 to 90% capability to the warfighter today, where a lot of times the government wants that 100% solution that often takes decades to deploy.
Okay. And you're talking tomorrow, it's called Hosted Payloads, Thinking Outside the Box. Why is it called Thinking Outside the Box? What makes it such a different concept?
Well, I think, when people think hosted payloads, they're in that very structured thing. They're going to take a box, they're going to lease space on a satellite and put it up there. But a lot of times it doesn't have to be that way. If the government were just to inform commercial industry what they're thinking about, what their needs and wants are, or capabilities they require in the next 5, 10, and 15 years, this would allow commercial industry to partner and build that capability independent of a government RFP or an official procurement action that would allow them to once again receive that service quicker. Also, when they do this, thinking about simplifying hosted payloads, the creation of a standardized interface on a satellite to host the payload has been a concept for many years. The problem with that, we've seen in terrestrial networks, Ethernet has become the de facto standard globally for the entire networks, but we build millions of those. In space, the theory is standardized interfaces will never work because they build so few satellites. Well, we really disagree with that. By creating that standard, open standard interface, it'll allow you to quickly integrate hosted payloads and do testing and development in the future.
Okay.
The TCS Cisco partnership was, we evaluated a lot of the different satellite providers in the market. TCS was just a perfect fit. One, TCS, today they operate an end-to-end managed service. They're a true service provider. And even though they don't own any satellites, they lease capacity, they're providing that value add that the end customer wants. And really what IRIS provides. So it was really a match made in heaven from that perspective.